Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Raven here. Today we are back for Eric's solo campaign, episode 8. When last we left off, Eric died and everything went black. And everything continues to be black as light slowly begins to come into our vision. And as our blurry vision slowly comes to, we can see a brownish colored wooden roof and the fuzziness of this humanoid shaped creature in front of us. We also smell a bunch of strange things we've never smelled before, and we can hear the sound of a baby crying. And as our vision finally comes to, we open our eyes and notice that we are the ones that are screaming, crying, kicking around, and now pooping ourselves as we have been reincarnated as a baby. And as we look up, thinking of what is going on and what are we to do, our mother and father start to get excited, for we are their firstborn of the royal house of black, and our father is ecstatic, for he now has a son to train in the military arts. Now we will go ahead and time skip around a little bit. So when we are about, we'll say 5, we begin to learn how to read and write the language within this world. And our parents start to teach us about what is called mana, a magical energy that is produced throughout the world that can be gathered through natural means. Additionally, humans and other creatures are born with a certain amount of mana and can raise their mana capacity within their soul as they train themselves and get stronger in the art of magic or physical training. And as we go through the next 5 years, we will be training with our father until the age of 10, as we learn how to wield a sword and both learn how to use the shield, as well as learning how to control our mana. We do not know any spells because our family is not a family that uses magic. Our family lets our spells be determined by the class that you are born with, decided once you go to the Magic Academy. And once we hit 15, our father has us set out on what he will call our trial of family heritage. If we are able to pass this trial, we will not only gain the family's shield that has been passed down for the past 1,000 years after the defeat of a demon, but we will also gain our Father's blessing, allowing us to go to Magic Academy for the next 4 years so that we may learn all we can about magic and magical creatures around the world. So, our Father tells us that inside the woods, outside of Oak Village, and we are in Oak Village, which is right here. So inside the woods, right here, that lead between Oak Village and Aberdos Magic Academy, there has been said to be a green forest beast of some kind that has been wandering the woods and attacking nearby passerbyers, villagers, and students going to and from the academy. Our Father has tasked us with going into the woods and seeing if we can, one, find out if this creature exists, and two, if we can possibly find out either what this creature is, what it looks like, some type of information. 3, bring that information back safely. Alright, so these are the woods outside of Oak Village. They randomly twist and turn and reshape themselves every couple days, so this will be the map we will use for this session. And we will, let's toss a dice on here and choose a random spot. Actually, we'll say right there. And we'll start right here. And as we come into the woods, we begin to see all the tall trees twisting and turning and being bent at the tips from the wind and howling, and we can feel the breeze of the wind and the cold as it presses up against our body, nearly blowing us over. And as we continue to walk forward, we come into an opening of trees, and in this opening there is a little tent and some people set up, just chilling, And as we walk up, they see us and they just keep minding their own business, making their food on their fire. And we're just gonna walk up and ask them, hey, have you seen or heard of the forest beast that is terrorizing these woods apparently the past couple weeks? And they both look at each other, and one goes to say something, but as he does, the other covers his mouth real quick and says, no, we haven't seen anything. Now, be on your way. And we will look at them suspiciously and just nod and say, all right, and we will leave them alone and we'll continue forward, keeping in mind that we want to see what they're doing. So as we come around the corner here, we're going to roll a DC danger check of 15 and see if we can climb into a tree silently without being noticed by them. So we have a +8 to our stealth. So that's 14. So yeah, 18 plus 4 is 22. So that's definitely above 15. So we climb up the tree silently, and we just sit there for probably about an hour or two, and we keep an eye on these two. And as we are watching them, we notice that after about 30 minutes in, and they genuinely feel that there's no one watching them, they begin to talk about how that was a close one, and they need to make sure that no one discovers that they accidentally let the beast out of its cage from the Magic Academy that was supposed to be used for the magic examination test. And as we overhear this, we will decide to come down from the tree, and we will come up right here, and we'll come up behind them as they're not paying attention, and we will let's see if we can see if we surprise them. Let's see who rolls higher. They roll a 5. Oh, we also rolled a 5. Let's try again. They rolled a 16, and we rolled a natural 1. That's terrible. So as we try to climb down the tree and sneak up behind them, we're just super loud, breaking off branches, stepping all over dried leaves, just making a whole bunch of noises, not being stealthy at all. And we get up to them, and they turn around, and they look at us and say, "What do you want?" Why do you keep following us? Leave us alone. We're just trying to have our lunch. And we look at them and go, we overheard you over in the tree line talking about how you accidentally let the beast out of its cage that was supposed to be used for our examination next month. One, why would you even think that's something smart to do? And two, you're lucky to be alive. From what I've heard, those beasts aren't strong enough for new applicants to defeat. They're supposed to register how strong and capable you are at fighting such a beast and how long you can survive an overwhelming and outmatched fight. Now, I have to go back to my father and tell him that two idiots released the beast for the Magic Academy exams. What am I to do with this information? Should I turn you in? Or are you two gonna help me capture this beast and try and put it back in its cage before anyone notices who's the one that let it out? And we are going to do a charisma roll with a +2. Let's see. Ooh, a 19 plus 2, 21. That's definitely enough to convince these scared teens into helping us clean up their own mistake. So as we're talking with them, we hear a deep roar, loud and echoing throughout the woods. We can't quite tell where it's coming from, but we can tell that it is relatively close. So we are going to ask these kids their names, and we're going to say, hey, my name's Maximilian. Nice to meet you. What are your name? Excuse me, I had to sneeze. And I'm Maximilian. What is your names? And to yawn. One of them will say, I am Derek. And one of them will say, I'm Steve. And as Derek and Steve look super terrified, we will all three continue up around the corner and into the next opening. And as we're walking through the woods, we come around the corner, and in the opening we begin to realize and notice that for some reason there are no animals within the woods. and everything is completely dead silent except the sound of the whistling wind carrying that deep howl from down the distance, with the smell of blood now in the air and the cold breeze running through our hair. And as we start to smell the blood on the air, we quickly come into the opening and we turn and we begin to look around and look as much as we can. And this is all that we can see is in here. And as we're looking around at this massive area of trees, we notice that off in the distance there is something, but we can't quite tell what it is. So we run over. Takes us about 5 minutes, and as we get over there, we notice that it is a mangled body, half awake, still breathing but barely, with its right arm severed from its body and a blood trail leading off into the distance over here. Derek and Steve begin to scream and freak out as they notice that this person is one of the examiners that were at the school when they snuck in and accidentally unlocked the cage when they were just trying to get a sneak peek of what they were to face against in the upcoming month. And as they both fall paralyzed in shock at the sight of the teacher, we yell at them, snap out of it, but they don't come to. And so we will ignore them and come over here. And as we come over into where the trail of blood begins and slowly starts to taper off, we notice that it goes into the bushes, and then we can't see past the bushes. So as we go up and into the bushes and we look down on the ground and around, fiddling around looking for a blood trail, we notice that the trail stops, and right as the trail stops, flowers begin to bloom. And not only are there flowers blooming, but the flowers that are bloomed in what is looked like the shape of a big cat's paw print. And so we notice that these flower paw prints go on for quite a while, twisting and turning through the woods. And as we follow them, twisting and turning through the woods, trying to look around and pay attention as much as we can, we eventually come to an area where they stop, and where they stop there is as we look up, because we've been mostly paying attention to the ground, we notice in front of us there is a big old cave entrance, and as we look down into the dark cave, we remember something that our father told us as we begin to concentrate and focus and gather our mana into our eyes, and our eyes begin to glow, allowing us to see within the darkness. And as we begin to slowly get to the front of the cave and can see through the dark, we notice that inside the cave, down towards the back of it, there is what looks like to be a sleeping creature with a severed arm in its mouth. And as we get just a little bit closer, the creature's right here. As we get just a little bit closer, we notice that the creature is something that should not exist. For this creature is only ever been seen in storybooks. It is what people thousands of years ago would call a vine-wreathed voids, or so the legends say. A panther-shaped creature entangled in vines shaped like a panther with deep yellow glowing eyes. This is the vine wreath voids right there. Right here. And as we notice this ancient beast from our storybooks, we slowly begin to try to breathe as our chest gets heavy and we begin to panic, and we try to back up, but as we do, we step on a branch cracking it in half, alerting the creature. And as it stands up and looks at us with its deep, glowing yellow eyes and begins to roar, we can feel it in our chest as its roar 4 and 5 deals 9 damage to us and drops us to the ground, affected by the prone condition. And as we are dropped to the prone condition, we begin to panic even more as the creature slowly begins to walk up to us, and it takes a bite for 2d8, so 1 and 3, 4. Alright, what's this at? Alright, that puts us at this. Alright, and then as it chomps down on our arm, we scream. And as we scream and begin to panic, our body is filled with mana. And as our mana begins to collect, and burst of energy is let loose from our body, as the burst of energy slowly begins to manifest and take shape in the form of a crow, as we begin to slowly fade in and out of consciousness, and our crow is summoned, and our crow is going to use gravity entanglement, forcing the void's creature prone and dealing 2d6 damage for, so 5, dealing 2d6 damage, so minus 5, and it becomes entangled in immense gravity as it's pushed down into the ground, breaking up a crater within a 20-foot radius, smashing all the trees within the area, ripping up the ground, and leaving a patch that is around us completely untouched. And as this happens, the Bind Wreath Voids screams, well, not screams, but roars in anger, and our crow is going to swoop down and get closer And as it gets closer, it's going to use its elemental entanglement. And as it uses its elemental entanglement, the creature becomes wreathed first in earth as rocks begin to break up from the ground, wrapping around it, dealing 2d6, 5, 4, and as the rocks begin to come up and wrap around it, they ignite with flames as the flaming rocks begin to spin, encasing the creature in a tornado made of fire, dealing another 2 d4. But let's see, this creature has earth immunity, so the earth damage does 0, as we notice that when the rocks begin to come up and break apart and shoot forward as shards, nothing happens, as the creature just stands there looking at us. And then we'll do the fire, 5 and 1, so 6, and we'll now cover the rocks in flames and do the spinning tornado and wrap it in flames. And as this happens, the air activates, trapping the creature inside, dealing 2d6 wind damage, so 6 and 2 is 8, and then as it spins faster and faster and faster, it slowly begins to heat up, and as it heats up, the fire begins to arc and turn into electricity as lightning bolts begin to burst forth, striking the area all around the creature and striking the creature itself, dealing 2d6 lightning damage and making the creature paralyzed until the end of our crow's next turn. So that is a total of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 damage. So that leaves it at that much health. And our crow has one more combat point, and it's going to use its last combat point to heal us and bring us back from being prone and bring us conscious again, so that we no longer are on the ground half asleep in and out. And as this happens, the Boyds gets very angry. So, from what it looks like, and it begins to unleash vines from its body and the ground from its body as they go into the ground and then come and burst up forth from the ground, growing in rapid size, width, and length in all directions out to a 20-foot radius, grabbing us, or maybe it's the entangled creature, yeah. Okay, so yeah, 20 feet, and then it gets us entangled in these vines, and as we get grappled and restrained in these vines, we take 2d10 damage, 3, 7, so 10, and then its special ability kicks in, crushing us even more for an additional d10 damage, so 8. And then as this happens, and we're screaming in pain as it's wrapping around us, crushing us, as we can barely breathe. And right as we're about to pass out again, we get angry. And as the anger begins to fill, our body goes limp and relaxed, and we begin to focus solely on destruction as our mana begins to manifest around us as a deep black color, and we control our crow to come down and scratch at the eyes of this creature. And we're going to use 2 of our combat points to attack it. And let's see if we can get it. Hold on, we gotta check what our alright, our summons got a plus 12 base attack, 12 plus 8, alright, that's more than 15, so that's a hit. And then the second one is also an 8 and 12 plus, okay, so alright, so both hit. And then we will do, oh wait, wrong one. The crow's claw should be talon is that the D12? No, right here. D12. 1D12. And plus it's where is it? Yeah, base 12. Alright, so. And then, so 8, and then plus 2, so it's 10, and then 7 plus 2 is 9. Alright, 8, 9. And as this happens, and our crow comes down and begins to scratch and claw out the eyes of this creature. We begin to try and reach our hand out and touch the creature. For in our storybooks, we have read that it is said that thousands of years ago, people within the ancient world used to have these creatures as pets, and they were able to bond with them on a telepathic level to the point to where these creatures somehow allowed their partner to pilot them. But these are just stories we think to ourselves as we place our hand out upon the creature's head. And as we do this, we gain a flash of memories that begin to flood our mind. Memories that are incomprehensible. It's bits and pieces of woods and creatures eating, a young man petting, reaching his hand out, looking like it's patting our head. And then as the time goes by, the man gets older and older, and eventually he passes away. And then the vision shifts to the cave that we are in, and then it just goes black. And as this happens, we actually, let's see, we'll roll a DC 15 for a danger check. If we, and we'll say it's will. So if we pass the, we'll do 20. If it's a DC 20, will check for danger check. If we pass it, then we will gain the trust of this creature through its telepathic vision links. If we do not pass it, then it will consider us not worthy and continue to attack. We have a plus 12 to our will, so we only need to roll an 8. And we rolled a 12, so that's 24. Awesome. So as these visions slowly begin to end, and our vision comes to, we notice that this creature has let us go from its vines, as the vines are no longer protruding from the ground and are wrapped back around its body. And as it drops us to the ground and makes a telepathic connection with us, we begin to feel all of its thoughts and its emotions and its fears and wants and even its dreams for the future. And as all of this begins to overwhelm us and we drop to our knees, we slowly try to gain our composure. And as we do, we look at the creature and simply think, are you coming with us, or are you staying here? And the voice that is more of a feeling than a voice rings through not only our head, but our heart, as the feeling of loss and companionship slowly begin to not only waver for the feeling of loss, but slowly be gained for the feeling of companionship. And as we nod in acceptance, we will decide to stay in the cave with the creature overnight. And as we're in the cave overnight with the creature, looking back and forth through a telepathic connection at its memories that it is allowing us to share, learning about it, it tells us that it has been alive for the past 3,000 years, living inside this cave, waiting for someone. Its old best friend, partner, whatever you want to call it, was one of the 4 great heroes that helped defeat the Demon King all those years ago. The first Demon King, so they say. And as we learn this, we ask of this creature's name, for she says she was never named, for her and the hero didn't have time to squabble with silly things like that. Their goal was to save the world, and their goal was accomplished through his great sacrifice. And as we're learning this, we come to realize that this creature is, in fact, the creature from our storybook. Not only is it a creature of those types of creatures from our storybook, but it is, in fact, the hero's companion from 4,000 years ago. I don't think he thinks to himself that she realizes it's been 4,000 years and not actually 3 or so the storybooks and my mother and father have said. And as we think this to ourselves, because of our telepathic link, she now knows this, and the creature begins to break down and cry, not realizing that somehow, some way, it had lost 1,000 years worth of memories. And now, filled with rage and anger, it asks us if we would like to help not only retrieve said lost memories, but become the hero that is needed within this new age. For it is said that every 5,000 years, a new demon king emerges. Only 3 may be on the earth at a time, fighting for supremacy to see who becomes the true demon emperor. 1 was slaughtered, 2 remain. In 1,000 years, 1 will be reborn. And there we will leave off for today's session as we stay in the cave for an unknown amount of time to us, training with our new companion. Thank you all. I hope you have enjoyed this solo session of Eric's Solo Campaign Episode 8. It's awesome to be back. Please like, subscribe, and share it with everyone so that they may join us on our adventures. Our adventures are just beginning. I have a campaign planned to bring us from level 1, where we are now, all the way up to level 20 and possibly past level 20 into divine character levels. So once again, thank you all. I hope you have enjoyed. This has been Robert Raven, and have a nice day.